So, my channel's been very Ghostbusters-centric as of recently. Well, get used to it. My fan film series isn't over yet, plus, now I have to go over the new movie that came out. Instead of just straight up reviewing it, going over the plot and whatnot, I'm just gonna say what my likes and dislikes with this movie are. And maybe a summary of the plot will just seep its way through, but really I feel like this is the way to go, because my initial reaction is that this movie was okay. I'd say it's about a 4 out of 10. But there's a lot of stuff about it that I don't like. As a Ghostbusters movie, it is a failure. So let's just see what I like and what I don't like. We'll start out with the likes first. You might realize later on that a lot of these likes are counterintuitive, but I want to give this movie a chance, so let's just go over it. Initially, I didn't mind the new cast. I like that the new Ecto-1 is a hearse. That's pretty cool. The cameos from the original cast were alright, but I'll get to the negative side of that later. The whole metal concert scene was probably my favorite scene in the movie, just because it was at least fun, it had some cool moments, and I'll admit the Ozzy Osbourne cameo was pretty nice. I didn't mind the villain Rowan, but it had more to do with the way the actor was playing it. The character himself was pretty flat. Although this whole premise is fucking stupid, I have to admit, I did enjoy seeing Slimer steal the Ecto-1 and go for a joyride. Even the fact that he had a girlfriend, it was fucking stupid, but it made me laugh. I admit it. I kinda wanted to see a whole movie based on that than the movie I was seeing. The new Ghostbusters suits were alright, I guess. This is how you know I'm running out of good shit to say. Leslie Jones was advertised to be like the worst thing about this movie, but in the end, she's probably the best out of all of them. Her character Patty is the only one who acts like a human being in this movie, so way to go. The new gadgets were pretty sweet, but here's the thing that kind of merges the good and the bad, the likes and the dislikes. Kate McKinnon. On the one hand, she was probably my favorite of the new Ghostbusters because she just looked cool, and she did manage to make me laugh just because she's Kate McKinnon. But her character, I don't understand what her character is. I think, like, you could tell that she's having fun with what she's doing, Kate McKinnon, but really, Holtzman has no character. She's just weird, and it comes off as unbelievable that a scientist would act like this. I was more laughing at her because I couldn't believe what she was doing, and that she was just always doing something in the background. Whether it was stupid or if it was actually funny or not, I was kind of laughing out of desperation. But really, she's there to mug and make faces. I call it the Johnny Depp effect. It's clear that Johnny Depp loves what he does, and we love what he does too for the most part. And with a really good director who tells him his limits and tells him when to stop, you can get a really good performance out of him, like his character Donnie Brasco. But for the most part, we have these directors like Tim Burton and many others who are personal friends with him and just think that everything he does is great, and they don't tell him when to stop, and since he's having too much fun, he'll go completely over the top, and nobody's telling him when to stop or when to turn it down, and it can completely derail your movie, like his performance as Willy Wonka. It's the same here with Kate McKinnon. Paul Feig just probably let her do whatever the fuck she wanted, and it went too far. With that said, let's get to the dislikes, shall we? It's a reboot, which, no. Just no. They should have done what Star Wars did, where you can kind of make it a reboot, but still keep it in canon with the original series, because, I don't know, it's just, Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of all time, the original, and I just feel like it's too classic to be rebooted. I know it won't really fix the other problems I have, but they should have just given credit where credit was due. It would have made me at least somewhat happy. Like I said before, the original cast cameos were neat and all, but let's really look at them and see the negatives in them. It's nice to see Bill Murray again, but you could just tell that he really doesn't give a shit. He just wanted to get in and out. Annie Potts was probably just happy to be there. Dan Aykroyd was just being Dan Aykroyd. Sigourney Weaver was fine, but didn't do much. If there's ever a sequel, she'll probably have a bigger role in that, but God forbid that happens. Ernie Hudson's cameo was probably the best because he was directly related to one of the characters, and it actually kind of made me laugh. Rick Moranis doesn't make a cameo because he said, "Fuck this movie." Okay, he didn't say that, but he wasn't enthused with it. And Harold Ramis is dead, which in the end makes this movie... Now, if this movie was in canon with the older ones and gave an honorable mention to Egon, then it might have given it more of a point. But that's the real insult, isn't it? Harold Ramis worked so hard, hoping to get a Ghostbusters 3 made. But then only after he died did a new movie happen. That, to me, is cruel, kind of ironic, but I also think intentional. At least before he died, he got to write the Ghostbusters video game, which was a cool little look into what a Ghostbusters 3 could have been like. It pretty much is a playable Ghostbusters 3, and nothing will ever distract from this game. Nothing will ever take its place. Damn it. These new characters are dull to the point where I only know like 3 of their names. I already explained how Patty's the best and how Holtzman kind of was on and off with me. But Melissa McCarthy's character is annoying, and Kristen Wiig, who is supposed to be our #1 main character, is the most boring, bland fucking character in this movie. She has no personality whatsoever. And then there's Kevin, who I don't even need to explain. I could just recreate his scenes for you right now.
My turtle is savage. My turtle, rabbit. Where is the rabbit? I'm stuck.
And the rest of the male characters are assholes, because... yay, women. You could tell this movie was written by jerk-offs, just men who think they understand what feminism is, but really have no idea what they're talking about, so they just make the men characters assholes to make the main female characters look better by comparison. I mean, for fuck's sake, they killed the main villain by shooting him in the balls! Not to mention that the CG ghosts look like complete fucking shit. I mean, you could just clearly tell they're on a green screen. I feel like I'm watching a Pixar movie. And there are no more unique ghost designs. They're all just blue or green floating skeletons. Woohoo. Although I said the new gadgets are cool, they only trap a ghost once. The rest of the time, they are literally just destroying souls. Just fucking murdering ghosts. There's no afterlife for the afterlife, I assume, so you are literally just fucking killing souls. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Batman v Superman? This possession scene is the worst thing since the AIDS epidemic. They use their proton packs way too much in this movie. Many people have said what I'm about to say, but it's a really good point and I agree with them. Proton packs are like lightsabers. When used scarcely, they can be very cool. But when used too much, they just become an eyesore. They lose their luster. But in the prequel's defense, it makes sense why there's so many lightsabers. These are Jedi in their prime. These fuckers have no excuse. They're just terrible at their job. There's a queef joke. There's a joke about pussy farts in a Ghostbusters movie. What the fuck? In fact, most of the jokes in this movie fall flat. Some of the dudes who were behind The Office wrote this movie, and you can clearly tell because the dialogue is very rambly and awkward, and I've seen a couple of episodes of The Office. It works there, but for some reason it just doesn't work here. It seems like they are constantly trying to be funny. Somebody always has to be saying something. The original movie knew what was funny, and they knew when to shut the fuck up. Melissa McCarthy never shuts her mouth. You can tell she's ad-libbing, and the director did not tell her to stop. Another thing this movie does that really annoys me, and a lot of bad comedies nowadays do it, is when a joke's not funny, and they know it's not funny, They'll just have another character laugh at what the other character just said in hopes that the audience will get the hint and start laughing along. No, it's just annoying, and the whole time I was just saying to myself, stop laughing at each other's jokes. Stop laughing at each other's jokes. Because it's not funny, and it just makes the scene even more cringeworthy. It's kind of like when you watch a really bad sitcom and the canned laughter keeps going off at the worst time. It just makes it all the more unfunny and bad. In the end, this movie really falls flat. I wanted to give it a chance. I do see some good things about it. It had potential, but it really was just dead on arrival. It was kind of like a reverse Batman v Superman thing, where with Batman v Superman, it was the fans loving it and the critics hating it. In this movie, it's the critics giving it the benefit of the doubt and the fans really thumbing it down. There is some good things about it, I'm not gonna lie. There was stuff that I find enjoyable. So, in the end, this is what I have to say about it. Like, here's where you should go in thinking about it. If you want a smart, well-written, and funny sci-fi comedy, go watch the original. Now, if you're having a family night with the wife and kids, and you need some quick, instant entertainment on demand, you might as well just put this on because it'll shut your kid up for a good hour and a half, and you'll enjoy some parts of it. But you know this is a bad movie when the scene in the live-action Casper movie gives you more of the Ghostbusters you know and love than this. And in the end, I think Dan Aykroyd's line in this scene pretty much just sums up what I feel about this movie.
Who you gonna call? Someone else.